So we don't know what's going to happen. The meetings have broken up, uh, again, the president is supposed to be calling Putin. Dad, what are you looking for in the day and days ahead?
Well, the critical thing is whether the Russians make clear that they are prepared to accept the presence of military forces from NATO member countries in Ukraine, uh, and that they and that the Ukrainians make clear that if that is done and other things are done, that they are prepared to yield some territory that's under their control, which seems to me has to be their decision entirely. I would be very strongly opposed to the United States or the Europeans trying to bludgeon a democratically elected government to do something that violates the fundamental principles of the world order that we built since World War II. The UN was built on the principle of no acquisition of territory by the use or the threat of the use of force. And having the Ukrainians give up territory that they control and either forcing the people to leave or leaving them under Russian control is a very hard pill to swallow. And I think we need to understand that. And that it needs to be, if it's up to the Ukrainians. If the Ukrainians think it's the only way they can get peace and they decide they want to do it, then I think it's our obligation to make sure that the rest of it is met, that they do have the funds for reconstruction, that they do have security guarantees, which are real for the rest of their country, and so that they don't regret and we don't regret going down this road 10 years from now.
Cliff, what are you looking for?
I would hope that Trump says to Putin, look, guy, you're going to retain Crimea. I'm not going to say I'm going to recognize it under law. I can't do that. You're going to retain everything you conquered. It's a matter of it's realistic. Again, de facto, not de jure. I'm not going to recognize it, but you get to keep the land bridge to Crimea. That's really important for you for a lot of reasons. You're going to keep that in, but don't ask me for more than, don't ask for more than that. Don't ask for lands you haven't conquered. Don't ask for the fortress belt, which will make Ukraine vulnerable for a minor incursion in the future. That's gone too far. But do it this way. Again, we're going to kind of freeze the conflict, and you'll get that, and then you're going to have good relations with us again, and good relations with the Europeans again. We can work on all that stuff once once the killing stops. I've been telling you for a long time. The First Lady's been telling you for a long time. Don't want you bombing nurseries, old age homes, apartment buildings. We want that to stop. And you can say to your hardliners, look, I got a big piece of Ukraine, and who knows what happens in the future. And let's leave it there, and you win and I win. Let's leave it there. I don't know that Putin takes that. He might. His economy, we haven't talked about this, his economy is in much worse shape than I think most people realize or that he concedes. Inflation is huge. War spending is huge. And if, by the way, this is just a really important point. If Trump makes it clear to Putin, if you don't accept this, I am going to continue to supply munitions, including, I'm sorry to say, long-range missiles. And unlike Biden, I'm not going to restrict their use only for Ukrainian territory. They're going to hit military targets inside Russia, just because you're hitting civilian targets inside Ukraine. So you don't want to go down this road. You and I want to get along, and getting along means the war stops.
Yeah, let me just make one point on that.
Yeah.
I agree we should try that. What I fear is that Putin is already expecting it to get that concession from Trump, and that Trump has told them, as Trump has talked about, giving up territory where you.
But I don't think he went into Anchorage freelancing. He talked to Putin. He talked to Zelensky and the Europeans on Wednesday. You think he didn't tell him he was going to say that?
I think he told him he was going to say it. It's not clear that they agreed that he should say it.
Yeah.
But if the Europeans and the Ukrainians are ready to go along with it, then it's not our job to prolong the war by saying, no, let's press the Russians for this other position.
Yeah.
If the Ukrainians are not willing to accept giving up territory that they now hold, then my view is we can't and should not press them to do it. But I think we're past that, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Putin has 20% of Ukraine right now, roughly.
All right. That's more than enough.
That's more than enough. Morton, I are exactly right. That's more than enough. And by the way, he's moving forward literally by inches and paving every inch with bodies.
Right.
Because it's not so.
But,
There
but
are
neither of us are
military
having,
aspects. It would
neither
take
of
him
us are having,
years to do anything
neither of
else.
us,
As long as he doesn't get rid of the fortress belt, because that would be a way of disarming. And he can't insist that Ukraine be disarmed. On the contrary, if there is a cessation of hostilities, Russia will rebuild its military, and it needs to do so, rebuild its economy. So will Ukraine. Make Ukraine a porcupine, hard for a predator to digest in the future. We should have done that a long time ago, I would argue.
Want more great clips like that? I've got an idea. Hit the subscribe button, be part of the Two-Way community, never miss a clip. And you can always watch our full episodes, join them live, go to twoway.tv.